All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. I hope everyone can hear me okay. I'm Debbie Drennan. I work at Parents Helping Parents iTECH Center. I've been here for more years than I probably should be. I'm an old timer, and I'm here today with Janet Nunez. Janet?
Hi, good morning everybody, and I'm also an old timer here, probably about 17 years. I've been here at the Parents Helping Parents iTECH Center, and we're excited today to tell you about this amazing project that we undertook. So before we get into the meat of the subject, however, I did want to just, if you're not already familiar with us, tell you a little bit about Parents Helping Parents. We are a parent-directed nonprofit family resource center located in San Jose, and the top right-hand picture, you can just see the outside of our building, which is the Sobrato Center for Nonprofits. And we serve individuals, both children and adults with disabilities, and we help them reach their full potential by training and providing information and resources and support to the families and also the professionals that serve them. And we're rather unique in that we, almost all of us are parents or have a family member with a disability, and so we bring a lot of passion and dedication and understanding to our roles. Our trainings are also given periodically in different areas, disability-specific trainings, special education trainings are happening monthly, also assistive technology trainings, as well as trainings on how to navigate complex systems like Medi-Cal or in-home support services or conservatorship. We have many disability-specific support groups, an integrated play group, a wonderful library filled with thousands of materials, books, DVDs, and media, and then our iTECH Center, which we're very excited about because that's where we spend all of our time. And our iTECH Center is an assistive technology preview and demonstration center, and our signature service is something called Techsploration. And it's an hour-long session in which parents can come in with their children or professionals can come in to explore assistive technology with one of our AT specialists. In the picture, you can see one of our AT specialists, Jan Tuber, exploring some text-to-speech software with a young adult there, who happens to be my son. And we do also a lot of information and referral, but we provide parents and professionals the opportunity to come in and try before they buy. We don't sell anything here, but we do provide resources on where to purchase things. We also provide services to all ages. Debbie heads up our Technology for Infants and Preschoolers program, our TIP program, and we also serve elementary, secondary, college students as well as adults. And we have a program called TAP, Technology for Adults and their providers. We have some low-tech toolkits for loans. Since we don't lend out anything directly from our center, we've provided or created these toolkits for loan. And we have a fabulous volunteer, Dr. Mike, our toy doctor, who can adapt any battery-operated toy for switch access. And of course, we are a member of the Ability Tools of California. But go to our website to find out more. This slide just depicts a few pictures of our toolkits. In the upper left-hand corner, you can see some tools, low-tech tools for reading and writing. We also have to the right of that 8 early literacy kits in English and Spanish. And just to the left of that, we rolled out this year our sensory kits, thanks to a grant from Autism Speaks, and those are complete with weighted lap pads, compression vests, fidget tools, noise-canceling headphones, relaxing music, all kinds of tools for calming and focusing. So we encourage people to come and check those out. You do need to be a member in order to check them out, but you can have them for 3 weeks in the comfort of your own home and try before you buy.
That's right. That's what we're all about.
That's what we're about. So again, go to our website for more information, and now on to our project. So take it away, Debbie.
All right. So what did we do? We were blessed to get a grant from the DCF, which is the Disability Communications Fund, last year to provide communication access for adults with disabilities in their Adult Day program. And I'm going to sort of set this up, this whole webinar is going to be set up in this format. I'm going to kind of give you a background of the project. I'm going to talk about the goals and anticipated outcomes that we had for this project, the activities we had to do for the project, the challenges we faced, because there's always a challenge, the impact and the actual results of this project, and the lessons that we then learned as a result.
And we learned a lot.
We learned a lot, and it was a great project. I'm really excited to share this information with you. This is very near and dear to my heart, this particular project. So first of all, I want to kind of tell you what is the Disability Communications Fund. If you're not in California, the Disability Communication Fund was established by the California Communication Access Foundation. It is dedicated to the communication needs of people with disabilities here in California. That's all they fund, are projects that work on communication needs for people with disabilities. And they provide grants from $10,000 up to $100,000. So we were very, very fortunate to get a grant from them last year to provide toolkits, communication toolkits, to Adult Day programs that serve adults with developmental disabilities, or we're calling them ADPs now, Adult Day programs, to see if we can increase the communication access of those adults in those Adult Day programs.
So thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Many, many thanks. And we have a thank you sign up there because we were so grateful to get this. So what exactly, if you're not familiar with Adult Day programs, let me just kind of give you information about what they are. They serve adults with developmental disabilities, all ages of adults, from 18 when they can start all the way up to senior adults with developmental disabilities. And they serve the range of developmental disabilities as well. They can be site-based, in other words, they all come to a center and they have their day program in that center, or more and more becoming community-based, or a combination of the two, where they go out into the community and do meaningful activities, hopefully some supported employment. They work on independent living skills and behaviors as well. And these programs are funded by the regional centers here in California.
One thing that I wanted to mention, Debbie, is that through the regional center system, however, they may not refer to them as Adult Day programs. They have other service codes like community integration programs, adult development centers, activity centers, or behavior management programs.
Right. But we call them ADPs.
But we're going to call them ADPs.
Because that's what works for us.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that is what an Adult Day program is.
And it's not the same as a senior.
No, it's not a senior program.
Day care.
Right, yeah, it's different than that. So why did we decide this was an important project for us to do? What were we thinking?
Debbie mentioned it's near and dear to her heart.
Yes.
That she's been wanting to do this for a long time.
I have, because I really feel like it targeted a truly underserved population. I really do feel that once individuals with developmental disabilities are exited out of the education system, the level of service for them just sort of falls apart. It's not consistent across county or even across city. It's fewer and fewer services and opportunities become available to them, and I really just felt that it needed to change. I also wanted to create awareness with the Adult Day program providers of some simple tools. Communication doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be expensive. There was this unknown that they didn't know what was out there. So I wanted to create an awareness with the Adult Day providers about what was out there and how simple it could be to use. I, of course, wanted to provide the clients with opportunities for self-determination and self-expression, because that's key, is to give them a chance to say what they like, what they don't like, what they want to do, what they don't want to do, as well as leave me alone. I don't like you. And also just to be able to enrich the activities that are provided in those ADPs and make them more individualized for the different clients once they get a sense of who those clients are.
So why has this population missed out on technology?
Well, a lot of the adults in the program went through school system, K through 12, or K through 21, before the technology revolution, before this even existed. We're talking 50-year-olds who, have never touched an iPad. We're talking individuals who, don't know what an icon communication system is because they've never had access to it. That's why this project I thought was so important. The other piece is a lot of individuals who are coming out of the education system, especially if they had, for example, iPads are big now with the different apps. Well, here in California, Medi-Cal does not fund, or insurance companies typically don't fund for iPads with a communication app. So once they've exited out of the school system, they had to turn back their iPad, their communication system, back to the school. And that's a real problem. So they may have had access in school, but now that they're out of school in these adult day programs, suddenly they've lost their voice.
But then why wouldn't they get Medi-Cal to provide it now?
Medi-Cal does not pay for that at this point here in California.
Or any device.
Because there's not a lot of speech therapists in this, at least in our area, that take Medi-Cal for AAC assessment. It's a huge waiting list at Valley Medical Center, which is our regional medical center here, to get a speech therapist to do an AAC assessment. So there's just not a lot out there.
Right. So you weren't seeing that there were a lot of personal devices
not at all.
in the programs. And then we also found out that some who had them would leave them at home during day program time for fear of them getting broken or not being used appropriately. So there's really it was a lack of communication devices and ways to communicate.
So that's why I was passionate about this project, to try to see what we could do to improve that for those adults. Mm-hmm. So our goal was to provide and or improve access to communication for the nonverbal or minimally verbal adults by providing communication tools and training, that's key, to staff at 5 adult day programs in Santa Clara County. The target was to reach at least 50 clients, 10 clients in each of these adult day programs with improved communication. And by reaching them, I mean not just once, but over time. They had to show that they were working with these 50 adults over time with communication tools to really see what works for those individuals. And our total project cost, and the majority of that cost went to the kits, was, as you can see here, $28,256. So the grant activities were selecting the programs that we were going to work with, developing those toolkits, providing the training, doing follow-up with the adult day programs, and then, of course, evaluation. What works, what doesn't. So I'm going to turn it over to Janet, because she was sort of in charge of program selection for us in our area.
Right. So the program selection was actually a lot more time and labor intensive than we anticipated. I did work with our local regional center, the San Andreas Regional Center, to obtain a list of programs. They do have a directory online, but I was not familiar with the service codes in order to pull down the list. But I did end up with a list of about 50 programs. The problem was I only had the phone numbers for those programs, so I had to call each one individually to find a contact person and a contact email that I could then send the letter of interest to. So I ended up with a list of about 26 programs that showed interest and that I could contact via email, sent out the letter, and of those 26, about 10 responded that they were truly interested and wanted more information. So I conducted a phone interview with them, created and sent out a full application. And one thing that I want to mention, though, about the letter of interest was that and I don't know if Debbie mentioned this yet.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, but part of the perk of becoming a partner was that the programs would get to keep the kits at the end of the project and use the tools to forever, however they wish to.
Right.
But I didn't want to put that in the initial letter because I didn't want that to be their motivation. So I left that out, and I basically asked, do you want to make a change in your client's life? And so when I got the responses back, I was very excited with some people who were genuinely enthusiastic with lots of exclamation points and, oh, I would be honored to be in this program. So that meant a lot just in the initial response to the letter of interest. But anyway, moving forward, we sent out the full applications and got those back, got a better idea, and then went out and did the site visits.
Right.
And those were also very informative and eye-opening. We got to meet the staff and see the clients and also how their programs were set up. So that was very interesting. And then we ended up selecting the 5 whose logos you see here. Greater Opportunities is one, Evergreen Adult Development Center, Hope Services Las Colinas Branch, the Friends of Children with Special Needs, and Green Oak Development Center.
And just, I just also want to say that it was interesting because each of these programs run differently from the other.
Right.
So that was a little scary.
I had, what, 180
clients,
200 clients.
And Las Colinas was, what, 50?
Right.
I mean, you know, such a range.
The
really
range of clients,
the range of
how
clients.
they set up the rooms, and so it was. We thought it was going to be really interesting to see how the programs would integrate the tools.
So the next part was developing the toolkits, and here you have a picture of the actual toolkit with everything that was put in the toolkit. And I'm not going to tell you all the bits of it, but I'm going to go a little bit into the range of tools because I think that's important. But I think each toolkit total cost was $3,175, and that includes the carrying case, that includes all the tools you see in front in this picture, including an iPad and an iTunes card to purchase apps with. So that was the total cost of each toolkit.
Well, even more if we count the time.
Well, we're not going, we'll get there later.
All those wonderful overlays and picture icons and pointing boards. Which
that's next.
We'll talk about.
So how did we decide? So the toolkits, to assemble these toolkits was the research in terms of what tools to go into the toolkit. We had to order all the tools for the toolkits. We had to assemble, compile, and create all the overlays. And this is where, again, we didn't judge our time well. It took us a long time to create the overlays. And I wanted it to be simple. I wanted it to be out of the box ready for the adult day program providers. So I created lots of icons. I did the Velcroing, I did the laminating. I also, when I had different devices, and I'll talk a little bit about some of the mid-tech devices, I pre-created on each device 3 levels of communication already based on information, sort of general information about what they do with their clients in the program, so that, again, they could just pull it out and start using it right away.
That means that she had to record in each field. Maybe there were 9 or 12 on that page of 6 levels times 6 kits.
Yeah.
So it was very, very time-consuming to do all of that recording.
But I think it was so important to front-load all of this for the providers. And so let me talk a little bit. We did have a volunteer help with some of the assembling. Yeah, I needed volunteers. So why did we pick the tools we picked? We wanted tools based on our experience. We both come in with a lot of experience working with this population. So based on our experience, we had sort of an idea what we thought would work. And we also felt it really, really important to have a total range of tools in there, from the really low-tech icons communication book all the way up to an iPad with apps. Plus, it was really important to me to include implementation and strategy guides wherever I could in this toolkit, knowing that many of these, this is all new to the staff. This is all new to the staff, and they needed to know how to use these tools and in what way, how do I encourage these tools. So it really went from Velcro and icons to iPads and apps. I mean, we needed tools that were durable. I have a proven record here in our center of not breaking quickly.
And they'd be out in the community.
Right, so they had to be portable, that were really easy to use. Again, very important that it had to be easy to use tools and customizable. I had to find tools that were easily customized by the staff in order for implementation to occur. So that's why we picked the tools that we chose. And in terms of the range of tools, on this picture we have an example of some of the low-tech tools that I put in each kit. And here in this picture you see I had a lanyard communicator, which is 4 pre-made sets of pages that you hang on a lanyard around your neck. I have an icon book full of different icons Velcroed together with different messages that they could then pull out and use. I also have a small, soft, portable communication book that you can take those icons and put them on with the Velcro and carry that out into the community. As well as another example would be the bracelet icon system, that they could just wear these bracelets, the jelly bracelets, and then change the icons on the bracelets. So those are some of the low-tech tools I put in the kit. Some examples of some sort of mid-tech tools. I had both GoTalk 20s and GoTalk 4s in the kit. And again, on these, I created 3 levels of communication with recorded voice and preset pre-made pages using the software, GoTalk software. And they also, each kit also got the software as well to make their own pages.
What kind of messages?
Well, I did, like, one page was general greetings, which included a joke on the GoTalk 20, because that's sort of fun. Another one was, I think, all about shopping, and another one was, I think, art activities pages, because these are all activities the majority of the clients participate in one way or another.
Most adult day programs pretty much operate in the same way and have the same types of activities.
So these are some of these activities I decided to pre-record and have available right out of the box. And then, of course, they can change with the software. They can change. They can do what they want, change it up however they want. And many of them did, which was great. I also had an Express one, which is simple one-message communicators, as well as a sequencer is another example of a tool that I put in there to show them how to use, a simple communication system. And of course, on the high-tech end of the world, we had an iPad in there with specific apps that I asked each adult day program to create their own iTunes account. I gave them an iTunes card, and they had to load specific communication apps on their iPad. And I put each of their iPads in a Go Now rugged case, and I chose that case for this project because one, it's very durable. 2, it has a carry strap available on it, so it can be out in the community easily. And 3, it's hard for the clients to get off. You have to use little screwdrivers to take the case on and off, so a client can't easily pull it off. Yet you can still get to all the ports on the iPad, so you don't have to take it off to charge it. You don't have to take it off, the case off, to turn it on and off. So that's why I picked that particular case. And I also included a Bluetooth switch in there for the switch users. So these are just some examples of all the tools in the kit.
The Bluetooth switch, could you explain?
A Bluetooth switch provides switch and scanning access to the iPad. For those who might not be able to use a finger to touch, they can use a switch and use that for scanning on some of these communication apps. So that's what a Bluetooth switch does. So again, these are just some examples. If you want the full list of tools, I'd be happy to share that with you. My email is at the very end, so you can certainly go take a look. So let's talk about the trainings, which is the other piece to this
very
puzzle.
Important piece.
Extremely. So what I ended up doing was 2 group trainings here in our center. Each of these trainings was 2 hours each. And I decided to do it that way so that they could connect with each other as well as with me.
The staff from the
ADP. From each of the different adult, because they really work in a vacuum. Many of them, they don't know each other. You think they would because they're all in the same profession and field, but they don't. And it was really interesting for me to watch them meet each other and connect with each other. And they actually started seeing if they could set up sort of monthly or bi-monthly meetings just as adult day programs to talk about different things that are going on. So that was interesting. I also, so the first training I did here, it was just, I gave them the toolkit, and I went through all of the tools in the toolkit except the iPad, and I showed them how to use each one, how to customize each one, how to turn it on, how to turn it off, how to record, and I also went over some strategies for implementation at that time. I gave them the iPad and the iTunes card, and I gave them the list of apps they needed to load, because that was the second training. They came back with the iPads.
About a month later.
About a month later. And I went through all of the apps on the iPad, how to use them, how to customize them, what they were. And I also answered questions that had come up in the interim between the first training and the second training. I also, during these 2 trainings, talked about some of the forms they had to do, the data collection forms, which was really important. I then sent out an interim survey, and then my final training was I went to each of their centers. And based off the information off the interim survey that I sent out and the data collection forms that I asked them to turn into me so far, I was able to do some troubleshooting, personalized troubleshooting, collect more data forms, and do more specific training on tools and forms as needed by each individual center.
And how many staff from each adult day program?
Well, I encouraged as many staff as wanted to come, and oftentimes I was working with just one, but oftentimes
required at least
one. But oftentimes there would be like 5 or 6, and one time I trained to 12. And that was fine. I had no from one center, and that was perfect. The more the merrier. But it's hard for them to release their staff for this training, and I understood that as well, because there is no extra funding for training on tools in a toolkit provided by the regional center to their line staff. So I mostly trained the managers, who then trained the line staff. So that was something to be aware of. And again, to emphasize, I talked not just about the tools, but I talked about strategies for implementation. This is all new for them, and I kept that very firmly in mind. And I included in the toolkit a book called Visual Strategies for Improving Communication, which talks about how to use visual communication tools, as well as a chapter out of a book called Allow Me, which focuses on implementing AAC, Alternative Augmentative Communication Systems, with adults with developmental disabilities. So it's very targeted to that age group. And that actually is a really good book. I really like both of these books. So it was not just on the tools, it was on the implementation and strategies of use. And then finally, our follow-up. We created checkout forms that they could use if they wanted to, so they'd know where all the tools were in their centers. We also created a data form, and this was, I'm going to go into that more because that's where we got most of our information from. We did the interim survey, and again, the results from that survey helped direct the final training. And then we did a final survey at the end of the grant period to get a sense of how
did we meet our goal.
Yeah, what did we do? What did we do? So here's our communication toolkit checkout and data collection form. So the first part of the form basically was, we wanted to make sure that each staff that was checking something out had at least a little bit of training by their supervisor before they checked that tool out. Otherwise, it wasn't going to be of value. So that's the very first thing we wrote. We asked them to put check out one form per tool. And this worked out great at first. But then as they really started getting comfortable using the tools and they started using the tools in a group setting, that sort of faded away. And we'll talk about that in a bit. We want to know when it was checked out, by what staff member, so we could kind of track who was checking out what. The client initials, was male or female, the age of the client, and the language of the client. And here we had an interesting little tidbit. Language of client, I was trying to get at the language the client speaks in their home environment. Spanish, English, Vietnamese, whatever. Initially, and this was part of my training number 2, I was getting a lot of nonverbal as the language of the client. So I had to kind of go back and explain what I was looking for. So that was interesting to me. We also wanted to know what activity and where the location of that. Was it a center-based activity? Were they out in the community with the tool? And what the staff-client ratio was. Was it a 1-to-1, a 3-to-1, a 6-to-1? So because we didn't know if that would impact how the tools are being used. We wanted to know what tool they were checking out, and if it was the iPad, which apps they were going to use. And then you'll notice here, the last thing we asked was, what does the client need to do? And we put, not just make a request, but we put things like tell a joke, complain, be understood by others. And we did that very thoughtfully because we wanted to continue to trigger how to use these communication tools with the clients. We wanted to help them understand that it's not just about requesting.
Right. We wanted to really open their minds to what communication
really is.
It's not just, I want to eat.
Exactly.
It's all of these things and more.
And more. And more. So when they finished using the tool and they brought the tool back, this was on the bottom half of the sheet, they had to let us know how many times did you try using the tool with the client, once, twice, 3 times, all day. Was the client successful in using the tool and why? And did the client have difficulty using that tool and why? And this was, again, so that we could kind of track how the training was going, if there was additional training that was needed, and also if there was a staff in particular that was really struggling that we could maybe help with. So that was really, this forum really was our key. So what happened? It was amazing. We were shocked.
Tuesday to ourselves.
It was very successful. We were really thrilled. We were able to track over 66 clients that received tools more than once, multiple times, throughout the duration of this grant project. And we have 66 plus because towards the end of the project time, many of the groups, the adult day programs, were using the communication tools in a group setting to have everybody in the group be able to communicate effectively with each other using one tool. So they would just say art group, you know, and so I stopped losing individual initials, which actually I thought that was perfect.
Because they were learning how to integrate the tool into their own program.
Exactly. All of them reported that it significantly increased access to communication. All of them reported significantly increased clients' ability to communicate, which, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, that actually should read significantly improve clients' ability to communicate, which we were thrilled to hear that, because our goal, of course, was to improve access, but the fact that it improved their ability to communicate was also just such a positive for us.
The staff was able to create customized materials in all of the centers, and they did. The staff was able to use the iPad as a communication tool effectively. All of them were able to. And the staff increased their understanding on how to provide opportunities for clients to communicate. All of them did. So this is huge. So the training of teaching staff what is communication and how do I help this individual communicate really, really worked. And here you have some pictures of some examples of how different adult day programs customize some materials. On the left you have a whole string of icons laid out that the staff can pick from and choose and use. And on the right you have a talking photo album, and the staff had drawn a picture that says good morning, and it's a silly giraffe head, and that they created on their own for one of their clients, which I thought was just so delightful and cute. So that really was terrific.
But now this is going to knock your socks off. This story. Get out your tissues.
Get out the tissues. So this is actually posted on this particular Adult Day Program's Facebook page as well, so I feel freely comfortable sharing it with you here. This is an individual success story that really shook us to the core. You see in front of you a picture of a young adult male in his 30s who is very physically impacted. He is sitting in his wheelchair. He has a wheelchair tray. He has his arms rested, sort of curled up, and so there's obviously some spasticity involved for him, and he is nonverbal. And he has on his head, you can barely see, one of the things I included in the toolkit was a laser pointer. And he's wearing that on his head. In front of him, propped up on a whiteboard, is a letter word board that I had also included in the kit. This man is communicating with his staff for the very first time. The staff did not know, before the tools came to his access, that he could read. The staff did not know that he could write. His spelling wasn't good, but he could communicate using letters and words. And this was like an eye-opening experience for staff. They had no idea. And as a direct result of these tools being made available to this young man, they were going to be approaching, and I don't know where it's at right now, the San Andreas Regional Center to see about getting a full AAC assessment through Valley Medical Center so that this young man could get perhaps an eye gaze system for himself, because they had no idea all that he did know already, and all that he had to say. And that's huge. To me, that's just incredible. They just didn't know. Again, this is a gentleman who was in his 30s.
And that's the first time he was able to demonstrate that
what he knew.
Read, that he...
The regional center didn't even know.
Something to say.
They didn't know. They just didn't know.
Wow.
So that's, you know, shocking to us. So anyway, feedback. Just so you know, we were like, wow! All right, stop. Anyway, so feedback from the clients. Feedback from the Adult Day Program. The clients are now able to ask for assistance even when they have limited verbal ability. It helps our clients be more independent and responsible. Students have a better understanding of what activities are expected. With visuals, students were able to understand tasks faster. So it helped them with their comprehension of what was going on around, as well as their expression of what was going on around them. And they understood that. They started to get that. They can express their needs and wants more clearly. Use of the CALM card, which I included in the kit, with the whole class is effective in ensuring students are calm and listening to the teachers, even those who were verbal.
So a CALM card, just to explain.
A CALM card is a very structured visual way of working with individuals in a very step-by-step manner to help them calm down and get ready to focus, to help them relax their bodies and get prepared for listening. And so this they were using with the whole class. So the whole class, verbal and nonverbal, were able to get ready to prepare to listen and participate in the classroom. And our clients with limited verbal abilities are now able to participate more in classes offered at the center. So they really were excited by the tools as well. Once they had them in their hands, once they knew how to use them, they really started seeing the value of them.
And those aren't the only quotes. Those are
that's a sampling. There'll be more. There's more. There's more. So you're probably wondering, what was used the most?
What was
used the most? The iPad was used the most by all of the different centers. And I will tell you which apps in a moment. The calm down cards are there's a question here. What is the calm down cards? I'm sorry I cut out. A calm down card is a card that has a step-by-step visual and written instructions on how to calm down, to relax your body to get ready to focus. And it's I think it's like 5 or 6 steps, icons and symbols that they use in a very structured way. And I can certainly share that link with you because it's available on the internet. I just downloaded it. So I can share that with you if you want at the end. Just send me an email. My email's at the end. So the iPad was most popular. GoTalks were also very popular. Again, the durability and the portability of the GoTalk was huge for them. The lanyard communicator, again, very popular tool because it is very portable. You just wear it around your neck and you can be out in the community, and they really liked those. And so were the single message communicators, where you just have one message on them. Were extremely popular with all of the different adult day programs. And so the preferred apps, these are the apps that everyone liked. They all liked the Pro Lakota Go app because it was ready to go out of the box. You could just start using it right away. The Go Talk Now app was also extremely popular, and that one kind of took me a little bit by surprise because when you first get it, you don't have pre-made pages. You have to go and you have to download the attainment icons first, and then you have to download some pre-made pages after that, which they do have available. But most of them took this Go Talk Now app because it is so easy to customize and created pages and pages of custom icons. And I'm going to show you an example of that in a little bit. The Sounding Board app by AbleNet was also very, very popular with all of them as a teaching tool, as well as the Simple Talk Plus Touch, which is a simple yes/no app. They all really liked that for their clients as well. So it's a range of apps as well.
It was very thoughtful in how Debbie selected those apps to really reach a wide range of communicators.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that everyone had a shot at it. So here's some examples of some individuals and some talking about the apps. One quote is, "The toolkit provided in this program was very useful in helping us communicate with our clients. Most of the clients in this program were nonverbal. The tools helped us learn more about their personality, likes, and dislikes." And here you see an individual holding an iPad that is showing the Pro Lakota Go app, for example. And there's another app quote here. "This communication kit has benefited the consumers of the program by improving the individual's communication skills and facilitating communication between students and teachers." And here you have a picture of an adult using the Talk Plus Touch yes/no app with a staff member over to see what they're pointing at. So really useful tools. So I think the keys to success here was, and this is important, support and training. Really, we provided a lot of training and a lot of support. It was always available. I was always available and will continue to be available by email or phone for questions. The structure for implementation. those data collection forums were great. They really encouraged them to continue implementing the tools, to continue to work through the issues.
And they were required to provide them to us.
Exactly. So that really, really helped. The fact that there was a staff member at each center in charge of the project also really helped. There was one person that I could go to, that the staff could go to, who was sort of in charge of the tools and the toolkit and in charge of the whole thing. And the motivation. They were all really motivated, and it became self-motivating. Once they got the tools in their hands and really started using them, the staff became motivated to use them more, which was huge. So those are some of the keys to success, I think. And the biggest impact, wow! Wow!
There were lots of impacts.
Yeah, but this one really surprised us. As a result of this grant, all of the adult day programs either purchased, are considering purchasing, or are creating additional communication tools. And this is huge because these were all programs that had nothing to start with. They really had nothing. And they saw the value. And all of them saw the value.
Very few funds for purchasing
anything
outside of.
Yeah, so one of them was doing a spaghetti fundraising dinner to get some more tools. It was just incredible because they really saw the value. So it was that was very exciting for us. And here's an example of that. We are in the process of making portable communication boards with simple instructions. Please sit down, come with me, your bus is here, do you need to use the bathroom, in various languages. One board in Spanish and the other in Vietnamese. We have students who speak these languages, and now staff will be able to communicate with them.
So let's talk about that, Debbie.
Yeah, that was interesting
another
too.
Unexpected benefit of of multiple languages in the programs.
We kind of knew this, but we hadn't really realized that for many of the clients, they may be verbal, but they're verbal in Spanish or Vietnamese. The staff speaks English, but their primary language may be Philippine or Spanish or Vietnamese or another language. So there was a language barrier that these communication tools broached between verbal and nonverbal students, or between verbal and different languages.
Right, exactly.
It was surprising, but it makes complete sense. With a picture support, they could talk to each other. And here's an example of what one group did with single message communicators that we had in there. These are the Attainment Express ones and GoTalk ones. And what they did is they put them up on a communication board that they created. And this communication board has helped staff and clients tremendously. Now all the clients are able to communicate where they are going instead of just leaving the room and staff having to figure out where they have gone. So before the system, they were wandering. And staff was like, where are they?
Where'd they go?
But now they know, oh, they had to go to the bathroom. Oh, they're going to go visit office staff. Oh, I need help. So it was just a benefit to all, huge, right? So, and here's another way a program set up their communication kit. They stuck everything on a desk in their office. And what they said, it was great to have a consumer come to my office to use the GoTalk on their own because they wanted me to take them to McDonald's. Self-determination, individualization. He chose what he wanted. He chose where he wanted to go. He was able to let them know. Huge. That's really important for this population and very eye-opening for staff as well. Now here's an example of the iPad with the GoTalk Now. This one group, the Las Colinas Hope, really took off with the iPad, with the GoTalk Now app. And they said the iPad with the GoTalk Now has enabled staff to greatly improve the quality of group instruction and client participation. And on the left you see that they created a binder. And this binder is full of many, many categories, and each category has many, many vocabulary words in it. So they use the GoTalk Now as an app to work with the class on vocabulary for the community, vocabulary for activities, so that everybody's on the same page in terms of understanding what is going on. And on the right, you see what they did is they took that iPad and they bought an AirPlay, which is a device that hooks up to their big screen TV that they already had. And so they could mirror what was on the iPad screen onto the big screen TV so that all the members could see it. And then they could just pass the iPad around as they were, in this particular case, they're learning about colors. So as they're learning about colors and what colors they like and what color they want something, they can just pass the iPad around and everyone can use it to participate in the activity.
And again, this is just another example of what communication is.
Yeah,
it's being able to communicate a lesson so that all can learn in that way. So opening up the minds by the programs of what communication is, I think was really important.
Huge. Yeah, it was really, really interesting for us to see them just take off. And here's an example of a lanyard communicator. And this was useful with a non-English speaking client. She was able to communicate her needs to staff, i.e. bathroom, food choice, etc. with staff. In the past, staff could not communicate with her or be understood. So this is a verbal client, but verbal and not English. Mm-hmm. And now suddenly she could communicate. So this is another example of how a simple communication board system, lanyard communicator, really was able to bridge that communication gap. And really it must have made all of their lives so much easier. And again, once staff could see the benefit, they really wanted to use more of these tools.
And so simple.
Oh yeah, so easy. But was it all roses? Of course not. Never all easy.
Some of the program challenges.
Well, here's some of the quotes. Some of the staff are not yet comfortable using the iPad, and with further practice, we'll be able to use it effectively. We'll talk about that in a minute. We have new staff who started recently, have not been trained as of yet. Turnover of staff, that's another issue. That's a challenge of the program. The hardest part is consistency and follow-through of my staff. True. Customizing tools according to individuals' needs and daily activities takes some time. We agree. Band strap broke attempting to add the icon. And actually I'm going to address that one right now. That was the jelly band that you saw with the icons on it. And this particular adult day program really liked those. Those clients really liked those jelly bands with the icons. So what they did is they went out and bought more jelly bands, which you can buy. They're cheap, they're inexpensive. They bought them in bulk somewhere so they could continue to use these icons on the bracelets in the community. So yeah, it may have broke, but they decided to rectify that by buying more. So just in general, some of the challenges the different programs have is the comfort with technology. You've got staff in these programs. Some have used iPads since birth, and others have never touched it. They don't even have a smartphone. So the comfort with the staff at the programs with the technology was something we had to work with, and that is a program challenge. There is also the internal limitations within each adult day program, that is staff turnover and multiple languages being spoken. Even for us, we had one group that we worked with that had 2 leads on the project, and one of the leads left midway through the project to go to another position. Very common, but that is something to be aware of. The implementation of the tools, I think, was also an issue. Some of the comments we would get were things of, well, this individual really can't touch the iPad appropriately.
Doesn't apply enough pressure.
Doesn't apply enough pressure to make it work. And you know, so it's sort of like they didn't really know how to rectify that because there was no one there to really continue to follow through and show them.
Also, they don't have the background.
They don't have the background, exactly. And then, of course, there's the non-use and the breakage of the tools. And that did happen, too. There's several tools that were not used in the toolkit at all because they just, like, for example, the Bluetooth switch was never used. And I don't know why. I showed them how to use it, but they just never implemented the use of that. And again, that is
only
program challenges, right?
It's a 10-month time period.
And that also kind of flows to the project limitations, was our time. We only had 10 months. So there was a time limitation we were working within as well. There's limited, as a result of the time, limited training and follow-up. I think if I could have been on site more with these programs, it would have been different. But I couldn't, so I did the best I could. I also had to let go of my own issues and rely on the adult day program.
Not a control freak.
Not at all. But I had to let them implement the tools as instructed. So I had to let go of my own issues and let them do and customize and use the tools that work in a way that work best for each individual adult day program. And I was really, again, pleasantly surprised at what they did with some of the tools. And I also had to rely on the adult day programs to complete those forms and surveys in a timely manner.
With limited hounding.
The limited hounding.
Yeah.
The data survey forms were great initially, but by the end I was reminding them. But everyone did do what they needed to do for us. So that was terrific as well. So those are just some of the different project limitations. So what did we learn? What did we learn, Janet? It was a time-intensive project.
It certainly was.
It took more time than anticipated. That the communication and training of the line staff was critical to the success of the project, as well as building their confidence that they could do it in a way that worked best for them. That I can show you how to use the tools, and I can tell you about implementation, but then in the end, it's up to you to make it work for your center, for your staff. We also, of course, found out what was most used, tools and apps. And we also, of course, as always, a little bit of communication goes a long way.
It was very surprising to us that it took so little to make such a big difference.
Oh yeah, it was great though. It was really reinforcing. So what do we do now, Jana? Where do we go from here? And there's a picture of me going, okay, I'm up, now what?
Yeah, there's Debbie in the little clip art picture. So throughout this process, we were thinking about how we could move this forward after the duration of the project. So a few things that we thought about were going out to our local regional center, our San Andreas Regional Center, and doing a training with the adult unit managers and staff to not only tell them about the project, to make them aware of simple tools that could be used for their clients, for them to acquire for their clients. So that was one plan. We also wanted to be able to create a toolkit for loan to add to the collection that we already have. So a toolkit filled with the preferred communication tools and and strategies as well. And then we also thought Debbie could be available for trainings if agencies were interested in purchasing a toolkit or creating their own toolkit. That's not something that we are interested in doing in terms of creating toolkits for other agencies, but we would give them the resources to create their own and then be available for the trainings. So we thought that these were some ways that we could kind of springboard off of this training. But then we also got some exciting news.
Drum roll, please. Phase 2.
Yay! Thank you again to the Disability Communications Fund for funding this upcoming grant for 2016, our statewide expansion. So what we want to do is replicate this pilot project statewide. And we plan to do that by creating the toolkits, but once again, and having Debbie travel throughout the state to 6 assistive technology centers or device lending libraries and deliver these toolkits and training to staff at those centers. Those AT centers would then be expected to reach out to their local adult day programs
and their regional center,
provide the training and then monitor the project supervise and then get that information back to us.
Exactly.
So we're very excited about seeing how this model might work statewide.
And what will be in the tools will be the toolkit would be the tools that we found were most used. We would replicate the icons, the pages, everything that we did and put those already pre-made in the toolkit, but we would also provide to the DLLs, the device lending libraries or the AT centers, the software, the GoTalk software, so they could create pages, custom pages for their adult day programs in their area as needed. And then they would loan out these toolkits to the adult day programs for whatever their loan period is, provide training to them before you loan it out. Not just loan it out, but you train them first. Like I trained, you would train. I would train you how to train. That would be part of the training I would do. And just go ahead and do more of that. And we don't yet have enough centers. So if you are interested, and I see someone might be interested, so far we've received interest from 3 centers, possibly 1 additional. We are still looking for more centers.
Right. So if you have the capacity to be a partner, you don't necessarily have to be an AT center or a DLL.
Right.
But if you are interested in this project, contact Debbie.
Email me. Email me. Don't. I'm not going to be able to hold everything in the chat, and I'm really excited that there's those who are interested. So please, please email me, and I will be happy to connect with you. I want to have sort of by the end of March, I want to know the 6 centers I'll be working with. So email me by the mid next week so that we can get this rolling. I'm really excited to have more interest. Love it, love it, love it. This is a great project, and you get to keep the tools, and then you also then get to keep using the tools past the grant process, so in whatever way works best for your population in your area. So I had mentioned some of the places I went to download and pre-make some materials because I didn't make everything by myself. So here I just gave you a list of internet resources for pre-made communication materials. So you can just go check out these different websites. And I think, as usually, Rosemary sends out the PowerPoints to those who are interested, so you'll be able to just click on the links. There's also additional informational links and some more communication samples. Getting Started is a really good one, and Why Use a Communication Book, Things to Consider. I actually sent this to each of the Adult Day programs before they even got their hands on the toolkit, so they could start thinking about what are these communication tools. So these are some really nice things. And also you see here there's the lanyard communication set pre-made already. This is what I used. So go for it. Download it, check it out. And also these are the different companies that we use. We wanted to give a shout out to Attainment Company. As you can see throughout this presentation, many of the tools we used were from their company, the Go Talk Now, the case that we used, the Express ones, and we picked them because of the durability of the tools, that we found them very durable, and the software, of course, to go along with it. But they were also very easy to work with. They made it real easy for us.
Yes, definitely.
So thank you, Attainment. Great company to work with. So I really shout out to them. And here's my contact information, both Janet and myself. If you are interested in helping us with this Phase 2 project, please email us. We will be happy to connect with you.
And now we'll open it up for some questions.
Yeah, if there's any questions, this is your chance. Go ahead. Go for it. Okay, well, it looks like there's not a lot of questions, which is great. So we did a job either confusing or explaining. I don't know. Take your pick. So thank you for participating. And here's one. Were you at all concerned that there was no professional guiding the process? Actually, no. And the reason I'm saying no is because the tools that we picked, we were not working on language structure or choosing the language style, which is speech
or development.
Or developing language.
Right.
We were mostly interested in providing a tool to bridge a communication gap. And that's what assistive technology tools are.
Remember, our goal was to increase access
right.
to communication.
Not to actually pick a communication system for a particular individual.
Although they reported that it did improve, their ability to communicate.
So yeah, but that was an unexpected outcome, and that was exciting to us. So yeah, that's a good question. But we're very, very clear when we know AT, what we're not speech therapists, and that was not something we are skilled in. I know of them, but I could not certainly work with an individual on them. Good question. If there's no other questions, thank you for your time, and I look forward to a full inbox of people saying, me, me, me. Thank you very much for your time.